Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is September 18th, 2023. We are within the window of time of the Federale and their announcement on Wednesday to where we must look at everything going, okay, what's next? Bender, because we always ask the question, what's next? Um, I don't even know what to say what's next. I don't even know what I'm looking for. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know. I think I'm walking into this week telling myself I don't know. And I think I'm going to feel very comfortable saying I don't know the majority of this week, um, based on the fact that I had a learning experience over the weekend that taught me and showed me in the most brutal fashion what my limits are. And I think understanding limits and getting to the point where you understand your limits is important.
It's amazing that that overeating at a buffet brought all this insight
Man, when
and
you
self-awareness.
self-awareness, big time. Three lobsters, over a dozen oysters, fried shrimp, king crab, prime
Yeah,
rib.
I just
They had a Haagen-Dazs, buffet bar. They make you milkshake and banana split and whatever else. It's like, yeah,
you don't have a lot of self-control, do you?
not there's certain things that I don't. It's like alcohol I'm pretty good with. It's like it doesn't it's like okay, whatever. But when it comes to food, man, it's like and the thing was, it's like it wasn't even all that great. I think that's what's so frustrating. However, I did learn, and I think learning is the biggest thing. It's like I now know my limits. I know my limits. I know that I am not bulletproof like I once thought that I was, and that, being wrong. And then, see, I felt the pain, Bender, on Lobster 3. I felt it. I felt the pain all over myself. Um, but I went back and got prime rib and a chocolate shake. And then after that, I went back and I got more oysters. And I think that on that lobster 3, I should have been like, you know what, homie, that's it. You got them pretty good. You can back off a little bit. Um,
You got your money's worth. Now you
Got
can.
my money's worth. And then I really, was feeling it when I'm like, we're in the car and the lady's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I don't think so, baby." She started laughing and she was like, "This is a nervous laugh." She's like, "I'm actually concerned."
I
I was
mean,
like, "Me
did she
too."
not attempt to stop you anywhere, at any point along the way?
So we've been in this relationship for, a couple of decades running here. And there's just certain things that she knows that she can't pull me off of. Um, like they had chocolate cake, pecan pie, they had a strawberry shortcake, they had cannolis, they had eclairs. It's like she knows that she had no chance. There was nothing that she could do to pull me off of this one. So I think the lesson is sometimes when you get that feeling, that feel, it's like it's time to back off. So maybe it's time for me to back off and through here a little bit. Maybe all together, you just trade a little bit lighter, trade a little bit smarter, not look for it. Don't try to pet the dog that's actually a bear. I saw a video also that was very telling. There was a lot of reflection this weekend, Bender, a lot of reflection. I'll show you guys a video of the little girl and the dog. She wanted to pet the dog. And then I realized Friday I was trying to pet the dog and not understanding it was a motherfucking bear all day Friday. Trying to pet the dog. Thinking, oh, no, I mean, dog gonna go play fetch. It's like, nope. Anyways, um, data wise, we really nothing today. A little bit tomorrow. Wednesday, obviously, is a big day. Headlines are, it's like, how do we recycle something and feed it to the people? That's what they're doing. This is why they say don't eat the clam chowder, because it's recycled with all sorts of old shit for days and weeks, whatever it may be. You just don't need it. So yeah, news is recycled. Everything's recycled, and here we are on a Monday, on a Fed week, after a blistering day on Friday to the downside.
Here we are.
Here we are. So, yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's really all I can say. Know your limits. Know your limits. Or you could end up in the hospital because you ate too much at a buffet. It's close, man. So close. I was just sitting there saying, it's like, I can't have a buffet take me out. That would be the most embarrassing thing ever. I would not be able to live it down. I would not be able to look at myself in the mirror.
All right. Well, hopefully that was insightful for anyone listening. Heed Hell's warning. Know your limits. Don't overindulge at the buffet. I feel like this is not something that we need to really, that we really need to message to adults. Like,
are we really adults though?
You're not a child. Like,
dude.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have a third of Claire after eating 3 lobsters and a chocolate shake and prime rib. Like, you're not gonna be happy that you did that. That said, look at Bitcoin. Look at this chart.
Bender wants to celebrate the Bitcoin. All right, let's look at this Bitcoin.
Shit. So we made that dip below 25 and took all this stuff out. We were talking about that last week. And it's been on a tear here for the last couple of days since making that dip. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with it.
It's interesting on Friday at the bottom, like the bottoming flow for the day, where there are like 3 or 4 lines in Amara weeklies for this week. Yeah. Like that was like the low of the day. Those Amara calls came in, which is interesting that you lead off, with the Bitcoin chart. Very interesting.
Well, I pulled over, I was kind of going through everything, and I was looking at the Bitcoin chart last night, and then pretty early this morning, just going, okay, what are they going to do with this? Because if we go over to the EES, this is a daily. And, we came down into this first volume imbalance. There's another one down here, but we're kind of down at the bottom of this. We had this nice big daily candle up, came back down, filled it all in. Obviously Friday, was sell. And you flip over to the Bitcoin chart and it's like, comparing the two, looking at the two, it's like, okay, there's obviously strength here. We pull this, send this to a 4-hour, and they just do not, they're just not tied together at the moment. They're not. Mm-mm. So it'll be interesting to see, like we talked about last week, more often than not, when the two become decoupled, they tend to come back to the middle ground. And, if I'm looking at this 4-hour chart, it's like, okay, either they're going to have to, pull the ES back up a little bit, or pull Bitcoin down a little bit, somewhere in the middle. I need to look at some longer time frames, because these things can take a little while. Once they do start to kind of pull apart, it can take a little while to come back together. But let's look at the daily here and just kind of get the look here. So, from this high here on the 13th, what was that, July 13th? down to this low on the Bitcoin chart. If we look over at the ES, and right in here from this high to this low. So very similar look in here. And then you had this move up August 29th on the ES. Same thing on Bitcoin. So still similar there, right? And then from there, it pulled back, didn't break these lows. Here it did. And that was that move that we got last week, right? So now it has broken these lows and, got this nice bounce compared to the ES. It did not break these lows, got a little bounce, and then back down lower. So, when I'm looking at the daily, it's like, okay, you can find the correlation where they're tied together all through this entire move, this bounce, the pull down, but then making this lower low, taking out all this. There's a disconnect there. And then, the last few days getting this push up on Bitcoin, but not on the ES over here.
ES is just
Had two
so
green
heavy,
candles.
dude. It's so incredibly heavy and lethargic. It's wild.
Just looking at the the last couple of days of price action, there is a disconnect there at the moment. So at some point they will become,
So it's like, so we see the disconnect. So it's like who moves in whose direction? Where is the return to the mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like who
Depends.
plays
It may be-
catch up, or do they return to the mean?
It may be a little of both. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just something to, kind of be on the lookout for and pay attention to. I kind of go through and track these and kind of keep an eye on them to see when that disconnect does happen. A lot of times when you get, when you get a move up like this on crypto, especially if it's over the weekend, a lot of times you come into Sunday and you'll see strength in the ES or in NASDAQ, whatever it is. In the futures, you'll see strength there. But, that has not been the case yet this morning. So it will be interesting to see how they come back together. Zooming in a little bit, going to the 60-minute, there's a couple of key levels that stand out for me, just kind of bigger picture, right? You've got the midpoint of this leg down, which we've been talking about, that 45.42. I think that's an important level we need to reestablish or establish support over 45.42. You've got this sell side down here that wasn't taken out on that last dip. That's at 44.8225. So if that gets taken, we want to see that for the bulls for a chance at pushing back up. If that gets taken, we want to see that get taken and then push from there. Because then it's like, okay, they came down, they took out this low here. They took out what was support before this ramp up. Once that gets taken, we want to see that act as, okay, stops came out. Now it's time to push. I think if we break, below that level, you got the 618 here of this up move right here. This is 618 of that. So you got, that's 44.74, as a possible, okay, maybe Maybe it gets a bounce in here. If it breaks that 4482 area, maybe it wicks down and bounces 74, somewhere in there. But I think if this gets taken and it doesn't recover really quickly, right? I could see it kind of down in this area, 4450s. And then it starts to look not so bueno, right? If it gets under 4,400 and doesn't recover that real quick, yeah, it starts to look pretty ugly. Going back to, let's go to the continuous contract here. Going back to now looking at the continuous contract, 60-minute. Get rid of some of this stuff in here. Maybe we talked about the fact that we could just go sideways in here a bit, ping pong, kind of back and forth, right? Which could certainly, carry on a bit longer. But if we start getting down in here near 4,400 or under 4,400, and that doesn't recover really quickly, you can start to make out a path for, okay, well, you got 4360 or 50 right in here, 4267.75, right? So when I look at this, it's like, okay, are all the puzzle pieces in place in there for us to go do that? Or are we going to come back and take out, this high from the first at 45.96, and then we've got this August 4th high that's still sitting out there, that regular trading hours gap that's still up there. At the end of the day, I don't know the answer to that question. All I can do is look at, the levels we were just discussing and kind of see what the reaction is at those levels. So, yes, Z2023. Going back to the current expiration, again, watching if we come down and test or take at 4482 level, seeing what they do with it, seeing what kind of response, reaction there is. I showed this on the daily. This is that volume imbalance and around that 4460, 4465 level. I don't know that I have a whole lot else. You can see, you got the 60-minute fair value gap in here. If it trades up into this, 45.13.25, 45.13.75, kind of right up in here. That's where I'd be looking for the devil, potentially.
So in
they're
theory,
looking
you're,
to
you're
reshort.
looking for a very limited relief bounce, if we even get a relief bounce. That's my takeaway from what I'm hearing. Is that accurate?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Again,
not necessarily, but it's like you have like 10 eggs in one basket and 7 in the other.
Well, no, look, there's plenty of stuff. Like all these candles we left behind, right? There's plenty. If it wants to go up, there's plenty for it to go get. It's just that, when I'm looking at this chart and I'm like, God, we're so close to taking out this low, this 44.83.25, and taking out 44, this 44.82. We're really close to those. What I would like to see, and one possible scenario is, maybe it goes and gets this stuff early in the day, right? Takes that. Mm-hmm. And then we can start to hunt some of this stuff higher. You do have the London session highs up here, just over 4,500, 4,507 or so. Mm-hmm. London session high and low took out the Asia session, so we have seek and destroy possibility again today. At some point, I think we'll go take these levels. It's just we're so close, but we've been close before. Look at this. I mean, that was within a whisper of taking it, and it didn't before getting this bounce, right? But obviously we made a lower high. Now let's see if we come down and make a lower low or not. I don't, going back to the daily, it's like, okay, we had this candle up, this down candle that took that out, all this out. Now this daily candle in here is lower. So maybe this pushes down here to this 44.81 into this daily volume imbalance or fair value gap right here. Maybe it pushes down into that, and that's where we bounce and then start to push back up. So I'm not saying
you're not saying anything. I'm just inferring from your conversation points. I'm basically listening and then been like, okay, so if you're playing gun to head and trying to evaluate what you're saying we could have, there could be more weakness before strength actually comes in. And I think that's a fair summary of what you've presented this morning.
Yep, and I agree with that. And I think that I think the possibility exists that we get, maybe we get a little bit of a bounce early, some covering, that sort of thing. Maybe we come take out this 4507 area, and then it's like, okay, what do we do with that? Do they use that then? Okay, they took out the stops long. Do they use that as fuel to then come down and take this level out?
And it's like Apple, in a very frightening way, is showing strength this morning.
Yeah,
like in a frightening way, because we saw Apple on Friday spike into the open while we were wibble wobbling, and when Apple let go, that was it. Everybody did. It becomes very, very interesting how these things are kind of talking to themselves and to us at the same time. Question is whether or not we're willing to completely listen. You got anything else, man?
No, I think that's about it.
Stonkington, buddy, what you got?
All right. Hello. What's up? We got stuff. Let's get into it. Lots. We can quickly talk through some of what Sonny looks at, upgrades, downgrades. Put it in the Roadhouse there for anyone that was not aware. There's a Black Fox Discord channel for that. Let's see. We've got Disney upgraded target 97. Nike lowered target by Wells Fargo 130 down to 120. They downgraded PayPal, lowered American Airlines, upgraded Carvana, EMPH downgraded LMT, upgraded to equal weight. And I think, let's see, Lulu upgraded to a buy, and then Unity is neutral. Exciting stuff there. Neutral, that sounds fun. Let's see. All right. So here's a NASDAQ weekly chart with no markup on it. Just wanted to start out by showing that we had back-to-back weekly inside bars. I think that was kind of across the board on all of the indices, SPX, and we've got alerts that'll pop in the room here on SPX for the weekly inside bars. And it looks like we're kind of just drifting right here at this low, which would mean that every bull who tried to buy the past 2 weeks would be potentially stopped out here. So with some of the patterns or setups, the inside bars, so a break of one side, that could set up for that Hikake, Shiitake, Bukake if we break the low, and then we have alerts set on breaking the high. So just a failed breakout type of setup based on inside bars. So we'll see what we get there, but looks like we're already kind of on the low end side. So if we jump over here, we can take a look at the chart with all the other markups on it here. Let's see. So we've got the new week opening gap line. This one's old. Get rid of that. So we get the new week opening gap line there. sitting just below it. We've got downside targets. This daily fair value gap would fill right down here at that 15,313 level. Above, pretty clearly can see these 4-hour fair value gaps based on the big sell-off from Friday. So the first one for upside targets would fill if we cross that 15,489, and then next we've got this one also from Friday, all the way up through 15,642 there on the Nasdaq. Below, if we cut through this, we've got a volume imbalance there. If we made it that far, I believe that one's on the daily there, just this low to that low on these candles there. So that's kind of what we got there on the Nasdaq. If we take a look at the Russell, jump over to the December contract. Again, 4-hour. Let's see. So we've got our new week opening gap that we're sitting on. Above, we've got a 4-hour gap. This candle's high to this low. So that gives us room up to 1872.90. And then again, we've got another gap above, room up through there. This is going to be, if we come back down, I'll be looking at this 1861.4. Basically see where these 4-hour candle bodies are respecting this level. If we lose that, we could potentially be looking to take out some of these bull stops down below. We'll see what we get there on Russell. It seems potentially, I'd be kind of leaning a little bit more bullish on Russell as we see this Apple kind of pulling everything else down. So maybe looking for small caps, going to kind of see what we get over there. But last time when we had the Nasdaq running like crazy, then it became kind of like, do we have to see some sort of rotation? So we'll see if there's anything in the flow. We'll kind of keep an eye out for that. Let's see. So the other things that I wanted to take a look at this morning in terms of charts, I'll be calling out levels on things like Apple and probably AMD, but I think it'd be good for us to take a look at the dollar. We just had a 9th straight week of green candles on the dollar. So here's a weekly look. This would be this level up here above. It is looking like a key resistance area, that 105.50 on the USDX, and then if we do ICT style, this is all basically, this would be a monthly gap here, this orange box. So if we can get cooking above there, which the dollar's been super strong, we're coming up on resistance. There's not a lot. This is all kind of unbalanced price action above. This weekly candle potentially a order block line, a bearish order block because it's a green candle before this run down. So if we got through this big resistance level, we potentially see what we get up here. And then I've got this one marked because this would be kind of a gap inside of the monthly gap from all the way up through here. So that's kind of what I'm looking at on the dollar, just in case, because it's been on this huge run. Let's see, other than that, what else did I have? I think TSM was the other interesting setup. Yeah, so TSM's in this nice falling wedge. If we take this last daily run, we found support on the 786 retracement, and then somebody hit it with a massive dark pool on Friday, 30.5% average 30-day. So I'm going to be looking for flow on TSM. Looks like a potentially bullish setup where they've defended the 786 retracement, and I think that's all I got.
So Stonk, this is just to try to match up with what Bender was kind of looking at and pointing out. What are you seeing? Are you seeing a little bit more weakness also before we get some strength coming in? Because if nothing else, that between the dollar and the wedges you showed on TSM, which TSM's a fairly important ticker over there. Just
yeah. So let's look at Apple because we mentioned it. Excuse me. So Apple, we know it's like huge overweighted across all the ETFs. So Apple's going to kind of be the decider, right? So Apple was also a weekly inside bar, with the bottom of it being one of the biggest dark pools that I have on the Apple chart, that's going to be this 173.57, and you can see bang, bang, bang. So if that gives out, then yeah, I'm thinking weakness, right? So this is going to be the key level, 173.57. You can see I have it marked up over 32% average 30-day dark pool volume sitting there. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for. I mean, maybe we've got a left shoulder and a head, which, yeah, then I'd be looking for weakness. But if Apple, holds us up, you said, good pop here pre-market.
Yeah, but again, on Friday, we had a rip pre-market, and then, within seconds, coming into the market on Friday, we had a rip on Apple to the upside. We had sideways chop on the indices, and then when Apple gave out, huh,
Right.
the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah. And I mean, let's see what we've got. Rate decision on Wednesday. So it's like, that's kind of, if the market's waiting on what are we going to get, hawkish pause, or, I think it's like we could be kind of in holding patterns until Wednesday, potentially.
I agree. I definitely agree. All right, so everything's kind of matching up. If nothing else, exercise extreme caution with what you're doing. If you get some wins, kind of be a little bit more conservative. Don't wait for the 100-point runner type thing. Maybe not. Just let the charts talk. Thank you, Bender. Thank you, Stonk. You guys did a great job laying it all out this morning. You guys have anything else to add?
I'm good.
Just that, obviously, Friday was a fairly large OPEX, right? All the witches in town. So we'll pay attention this morning to see what Flo says, knowing that, we could see some further repositioning, maybe a funky day for options. Like Stonkington mentioned, the rate decision coming up. I'm coming into this day like, man, they could do whatever. It's hard to have a lean when you have, all that stuff hanging out there. That's like, man, Friday was funky. We
Friday
had
was
futures rollover last week.
A relentless controlled sell on Friday. It was relentlessly controlled.
Well, you know what's interesting about that is, we were talking about that, that the fact that the previous expiration futures contract on ES closed at, it was like 44.83, and there was a 50-some point difference between the ESZ, the new expiration, and the September expiration. And so it's like, how much of what we saw on Friday, some of it can be related to that. I was telling you about that on Thursday, that, it could come back down and, close some of that gap. So definitely a day to stay on your toes.
Yeah. All right. So we have 4 minutes till open, about 4 minutes till open. Let's get comfortable. Let's have a good day. Let's be smart. See you guys soon.
All right.